Hello all, it is the week of July 26th, 2022, and from Locus magazine, I'm here to tell you about all of the new science fiction, fantasy, and horror books that are being published this week. You like to be in the know? We've got you. I have 7 fantasy titles, 3 science fiction titles, and 7 horror titles, all hitting shelves this week from various book publishers. Let's start with the fantasy. From author Gina Chen, we saw Violet Made of Thorns in hardcover, ebook, and audio out from Delacorte. This is a debut from Chen, who is a self-taught artist with a degree in computer science. The author's note says, "This book is a fairy tale for those who choose head over heart every time. It's a story about stories and how they shape history and divinity. It's a story about love and the ways it saves us or doesn't. But mostly it's a story about Violet. I wrote Violet for anyone who feels they only relate to the unrelatable characters, the ones who are too cold, too proud, too much, and not enough at the same time. Neither brave hero nor glamorous villain, she is her own contrary character, a prickly girl carving a place for herself in a world she doesn't believe in, 2 feet on the ground while she looks towards the sky." We saw the fantasy novel A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by author Foz Meadows from Tor in hardcover, ebook, and audio. Publishers Weekly says this lushly drawn fantasy romance from Meadows, who also wrote A Tyranny of Queens, offers a delicate meditation on trauma, loyalty, and trust. Raelian aristocrat Velasine von Aro is forced into a diplomatic marriage to a young woman from the neighboring kingdom of Tithina, his family's historic enemies. Problems ensue, as they always do. You wouldn't read it if things didn't go totally sideways. From 47 North and C.T. Ruizi, we saw Primeval Fire in trade paperback, hardcover, ebook, and audio, a futuristic fantasy novel inspired by South and East African mythology, 3rd in the Scarlet Odyssey series. The Lily Cafe describes it like this: "The conclusion to this incredible African-inspired fantasy has our group of protagonists scrambling to prevent a darkness from breaking free into the world. Solo's death leaves his friends reeling, and a magical world in turmoil." On to science fiction. From Tor.com and author Ruthanna Emrys, we saw A Half-Built Garden in hardcover, ebook, and audio. Cory Doctorow in a Medium post described the book like this: "A spectacular first contact novel about complicated utopias and networked conflict. It's a wild ride." So, aliens come to Earth to save us from ourselves, an ecological cataclysm, and take us to the stars. But we aren't ready to let go. Can humanity ever unite, even to save the world? I mean, I think we can, but I'd rather be a naive optimist than a pessimist who's proven right. I don't need to be right. Being right is overrated. From Dan Morin, we saw The Nova Incident out from Angry Robot US in trade paperback and ebook. This title got a starred review from Publishers Weekly saying Major Simon Kowalik must deal with the loose end he left 9 months earlier when he let Lieutenant Aaron Page disappear after his betrayal of Kovalik's team. The office building housing the Commonwealth government's communication hub on Terra Nova is bombed, and Page appears in terrorist group Nova Front's video claiming responsibility. Kovalik's team is directed to work the case by tracking Page, an approach which has them butting heads with the Commonwealth Intelligence Directorate and uncovering some of the Commonwealth's most unsavory secrets. Because I like my secrets savory. I mean, the palate does switch from sugar to fat as you get older anyway, so savory is better than sweet in terms of secrets, for me anyway. We'll stick this in with science fiction even though it's really not. It's nonfiction about science fiction. From literary critic Paul Kincaid, we saw Brian W. Aldiss out from University of Illinois Press in trade paperback, hardcover, and ebook. This is a critical biography, part of the Modern Masters of Science Fiction series. Kincaid says, Brian Aldiss was a restless, experimental, and particularly in his early years, iconoclastic writer. By the way of things, experiments don't always succeed, but the ones that did succeed were breathtakingly original. I hope that readers of my book will discover just how good his best work was, and why that made him undoubtedly one of the most important writers in post-war British science fiction. Now to the horror, the horror! From publisher Holt and author Kate A. Boorman, we saw Into the Sublime in hardcover, ebook, and audio. Nerd Daily calls it like this: anyone looking for a claustrophobic and unsettling story will find the perfect match with Into the Sublime, a self-aware YA thriller whose characters directly reference The Descent and As Above, So Below. Boorman is an award-winning author from the Canadian provinces, born in Nepal, and she holds an MA in dramatic critical theory. From Morrow and editors Vince A. Liaguno and Rena Mason, we saw Other Terrors, an inclusive anthology in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a horror anthology with 22 stories and 2 poems, a project of the Horror Writers Association. Humans are almost instinctively inclined to fear what's different. In this anthology, horror writers from a multitude of underrepresented backgrounds will be putting a new, terrifying spin on what it means to be the other. Authors include Eugene Bacon, Tananarive-Due, Stephen Graham Jones, Alma Katsu, and Gabino Iglesias. Finally, we'll speed up a little from here because our love for books is bigger than the amount of time we have for talking about them. From Harlequin, we saw Ruthless by Gina Showalter in paperback, hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a paranormal romance novel, the second in the Immortal Enemies series. The Fae King of the Forgotten meets a feral girl with the terrifying ability to sing monsters to life. You better be able to read that key signature or your monster might not come out looking right. Or is this one in E flat or in D? Also from Harlequin, the Mira imprint, we saw Heather Graham's Aura of Night in paperback, hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a supernatural thriller / romance novel, 37th in the Crew of Hunters series. A recently kidnapped author novelizes her experience in order to get past it, but it seems like the threat isn't gone. From Tor Forge, we saw Heather Weber's In the Middle of Hickory Lane in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a magical realism / mystery novel. Con artist daughter Emmy Wynn gets a dream chance to settle down with her estranged grandmother in Sweetgrass, Alabama. Also from Tor, Tracy Hickman and Richard Garriott's The Eye of Scales in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a tie-in novel based on the game Shroud of the Avatar. A former soldier finds a legendary sword, but the sword might be manipulating him. I mean, does it spark joy? Does the sword spark joy? Because if it doesn't, Marie Kondo told you what to do. From Scholastic Press and author S. Isabelle, we saw The Witchery in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult horror / dark fantasy novel. Student witch Logan needs to learn to control her powers at Mesmort Coven Academy in cursed Halesford, Florida. From publisher Trepidation and author Kirstyn McDermott, we saw Hard Places in trade paperback. This is a collection of 14 stories written over the past 20 years, ranging from horror to contemporary gothic. This title includes 1 unpublished novella. From Dan McDowell and Black Rose Writing, we saw Poolman in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a surreal horror novel where a mysterious death at a hotel swimming pool leaves longtime amputee Greg the Poolman unemployed and desperate. He enters a bizarre, high-risk game show to make ends meet. From Red Hook and Mary McMyne, we saw The Book of Gothel in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel about the witch who put Rapunzel in the tower. From Tor Nightfire and Nina Nesseth, we saw Nightmare Fuel, The Science of Horror Films in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a non-fiction reference book, a pop science look into how and why horror films get under our skin and why we come back for more. From Grand Central and authors Matt Query and Harrison Query, we saw Old Country in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a horror novel about a couple who buy their dream farm in Idaho but learn a malevolent spirit haunts the valley. Adapted from the author's viral Reddit r/no-sleep post, My Wife and I Bought a Ranch. From Kasich SF and Fantasy and Alan Smale, we saw Hot Moon in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is an alternate history SF novel, first in the Apollo Rising series about space exploration during the Cold War in 1979. Astronaut Vivian Carter commands the Apollo 32 mission to explore lunar volcanoes when Soviets attack. From Tor and Harry Turtledove, we saw 3 Miles Down in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is an alternate history set in 1970. A Russian sub sinks, leading the US to discover an alien ship on the bottom of the Pacific. Finally, from Entangled Teen and Tiana Warner, we saw The Valkyries Daughter in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult LGBTQ+ fantasy novel about a stable girl with big dreams. This is inspired by Norse mythology, the first in a series. And in case you missed it, we want to mention Blood Scion by Deborah Falaye, out from Harper Teen in hardcover in March 2022, with a cover by Taj Francis. From the Review in Locus by Colleen Mondor, steeped in the Yoruba Nigerian traditions of the author's homeland, Blood Scion opens with 15-year-old Sloane determined to uncover what happened to her mother. Desperate to find her body, Sloane places herself in a perilous position outside her village after curfew and is swiftly victimized by a murderous Nightwalker. The soldiers of the occupying Lucis army and the Nightwalkers care only about pain and power, and if she was any other teenager, Sloane would not survive the encounter. she has been keeping a secret and hiding a power that marks her as a Scion, a descendant of the Orisha Shango, and a living inferno. Sloane kills to save herself, and in that rush, on only page 9 of the novel, the plot sets off at a relentless pace that continues until the very last words. That from the Locus reviewer Colleen Mondor, who is the author of The Map of My Dead Pilots, The Dangerous Game of Flying in Alaska, and Mondor also reviews regularly for the ALA's book list. So that's all the books we're going to tell you about coming out this week. This video is brought to you by the Greek letter gamma, the number 81.5, and Planck's constant. But because letters, numbers, and equations don't put food on the table, we need you to do us a favor. If you ever get trapped in a fortune cookie factory, in and amongst your tiny notes, pleading for someone to come rescue you, and since you've probably got time to spare, don't forget to add in a few like and subscribe to Locus Mag. That's the ask. We're gonna keep asking. Every week is a new chance to get it right and help us out. We are at Locus Mag or at Locus Magazine on most platforms. And if you'd like to know more about Locus Magazine, we cover SF, fantasy, horror, and YA books that are coming out. We do monthly book reviews, commentary columns by people like Cory Doctorow. We cover books written in English, books translated into English. We list all of the forthcoming books from publishers so you know months in advance what's about to come down the pipeline. We interview authors, talk to artists, we report on writers' workshops and conventions, and the magazine's been doing that sort of stuff since 1968. Our readers include industry pros, librarians, booksellers, professional writers, and serious readers, people who like to know about what's going on in publishing and what's about to happen next. Go check us out at our website, www.locusmag.com. You can subscribe to the print magazine. Locus is available in a digital edition, or you can donate to what we do via our Patreon or direct donation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Come back and see us again soon, and we'll be here next week with more new books.